It's Halloween season, and what better way to talk Halloween than talking the granddaddy of them all, Michael Myers. He is back this week with his film Halloween Ends, which is directed by David Gordon Green and is written by Kenny Powers himself, Danny McBride, alongside with David Gordon Green. This film is the final installment of the Halloween franchise that was established in 2018, which was a continuation of the original Carpenter one while ignoring the rest of the sequels. This is the third and final installment within this trilogy, at least for now. We'll see how long that actually sticks, or if this gets a sequel, or if this is rebooted, or whatever the hell is about to happen. But while we're here, while we're at this endpoint, let's talk Halloween Ends. So, Halloween Ends. This is the 13th installment within the franchise. It is also the fourth installment that contains Halloween, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and now Halloween Ends. And this is the third and final of the new trilogy that continues the story of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Halloween Kills ends with the character of Michael Myers killing Laurie Strode's daughter. It's now been 4 years. He is nowhere to be seen, and Haddonfield is trying to move on from the horrors of that Halloween night. But they can't move on. And the plot synopsis, as explained by Letterboxd, is 4 years after the events of Halloween in 2018, Laurie has decided to liberate herself from fear and rage and embrace life. But when a young man is accused of killing a boy he was babysitting, it ignites a cascade of violence and terror that will force Laurie to finally confront the evil she can't control once and for all. Let's just start off with the basic overall idea of this film and what I liked about it. Here's what I will say. This film is ambitious. This film takes a lot of swings for the fences. It tries its ass off. There is some really cool ideas of storytelling within this. In particularly, I really like the character of Corey Cunningham. I think there was a really interesting idea that they had to say about evil and the infection that evil has within society, and how that we have to, as humans, place blame on one another to kind of explain our existence, because otherwise we just have to accept that's how we exist. And in that way, I think the actor Rowan Campbell does a really good job with the character Corey, despite being a little underused, a little underdeveloped, and not going in a particularly satisfying and honestly frustrating way as the film goes on. But for what Corey is asked to do within the film, I think Campbell gives a really standout performance in this film, as does, as usual, Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. It almost feels redundant to state it. She's really good in this film. Laurie Strode is well used within this film, and I think she has some of the more exciting scenes about this. But one person that I don't think is getting enough praise is James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers himself. This time around, we get to see Michael Myers a little bit older, a little bit slower. There just feels like this physicality is a little lost with him at scenes. And I think he portrays this almost more vulnerable Michael in a really convincing way that I really found intriguing throughout. Now, for fans, do beware. Michael Myers is not in this film a ton, and that's going to be this idea that I talk about a lot in this review, where I generally like the story that they had. I like a lot of the ideas that they had. It's just that I found the script to be a mess, and in particularly the way they use Michael Myers within this film. What I'm saying about that, without giving spoilers, because there is a lot that I could say about this film that would give it away. Later this month, my friend Tris and I, we are doing a full spoiler review and breakdown of Halloween Ends, which is coming out October 31st. So do be on the lookout for that. There are people who are going to really appreciate the risk that this film takes and the sheer ambition of it. And then there's also other people who are going to hate this film. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't hate this film. And I really did enjoy some of the ideas that this film is trying to convey. The biggest issue that I have with Halloween Ends is it's messy. The script is absolutely a mess. There are scenes that do not make sense. There are characters that feel like they have changed drastically between 4 years, and it feels like it almost betrays who these characters are. I think in particular, the character of Allison, who is played very well by Andy Matichak within the 3 installments, she's also really good in this movie. The direction that they took the character of Allison, I thought, was really bad. They give her a love interest in this film, and it doesn't work. It happens way too quickly. It's underdeveloped, and by the time that this character needs to do certain things in this film, you just don't believe it. You don't buy into this romance in any particularly meaningful way, outside of the fact that the two actors have really good chemistry in the film. So they're able to sell it to the most, but the story itself just does not make sense in that retrospect. And that's some of the ideas where I'm talking about where this film feels messy. It just feels undercooked. That is truly what it is. It is half-baked ideas. It really feels like somebody came in with some really good pitches, and then they're like, cool, and that's the film. We really like that. And then when it came to actually writing the script, it's like, okay, but actually, what do we do with this idea? And does it play well within the continuity of the other films? I'm not necessarily even saying I care if it plays well within the continuity. The one thing about the Halloween franchise is continuity does not matter within it, and the tone shifts from film to film. There is no continuity to be had. So I'm not even saying that's an issue with it, but this film takes some really weird stuff and really plays with some ideas that just, one, are undercooked. They are brought in way too quickly. If you're going to explore these ideas, you need to give it more time to breathe. Otherwise, you get ideas and issues that I have with some of the other previous Halloween installments, where it's just like, oh, we introduced this new major like plot point to the character of Michael Myers. And that really changes like how we view the character. But the issue is, then it's like, okay, but what about the other two films about this? Like, this really feels like you're dropping something on me, and you're just telling me like, this is what it is. And I'm like, okay, but does that actually make sense? And often in this film, it's 50-50. There are ideas where I'm like, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. I really like what they're doing. In particular, they're with the interactions of the character, Corey and Michael Myers. That stuff worked really well for me. There's other stuff with how Michael Myers is received within the town that I'm just like, I don't think that makes logistical sense in this story. And that's where I saw the film just falling apart, just where it's just like, okay, you're trying to just do too much. You have too much on your plate. You filled up this plate at a buffet and it's just spilling all over. And that's how the ideas within this movie played. And it's this direction. It's the fact that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, in their direction and their writing respectively, they just like, they have these really cool ideas. They have this really cool direction that they want to do it. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels original. But the issue is it gets way too convoluted way too quickly. Along with that, with the writing, I really found the writing in this film atrocious. Not even the dialogue that is spoken from character to character. That's whatever. Some of it's really cringy, bad romance dialogue. But what I'm specifically talking about is some of the stuff involving Michael Myers in this film, who just straight up, he's not in this film a ton. He does not appear until I think about the 38-minute mark, and then he appears very sparingly throughout until the film finally needs him to get to this point in the film where he is in it present, and we get the Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers showdown. But the issue is I've seen this iteration of Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers done much better throughout other films, whether that includes the first Halloween, Halloween 2, whether that includes the Rob Zombie films, whether that includes the 2018 Halloween reboot, whether that includes H2O. The issue is it's always this final confrontation that must happen between Michael and Laurie. And in this film, they have to have it. It is obligatory to have it in it. But again, I've just seen it done better, and it's not a particularly fun sequence to watch. I think the biggest issue that I had with the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, besides the fact that it just feels shoehorned in there, is that it's just ultra gross and just mean-spirited. The violence is just gross in this film. It is like blatantly ultra gory for gore's sake. It's often played for laughs. There's this scene involving a character getting his tongue cut out that is very much used for a visual gag. I thought it was just gross. I mean, I didn't think it was done in any form of good taste. There's a lot of stuff like that where I'm just watching this and I'm like, this is just someone trying to shock. This feels like it was written for a 13-year-old boy by 13-year-old boys, and that's what it was for often. I just found it so mean-spiriting, and it really pulled me out. So none of the action scenes particularly gripped me. The way that Michael and Laurie finally interacted didn't really work for me. It feels obligatory within the film, as I said, where it's just like, we need this to happen. But the issue is, if you simply just pulled Michael Myers out of this film, It's arguably a much better film, and it honestly works probably in a much more cohesive way. And it just feels like, okay, we're trying to try this idea within the franchise that I applaud you for trying. But then when you actually put it within it, and you're also trying to be like, okay, but we also need to end this franchise with the Laurie Strode, Michael Myers show off, you now just have too many ideas floating around. None of them are particularly developed, and none of it works in a particularly satisfying way. And that's my review of Halloween Ends. It had some good ideas. It had a lot of bad ideas. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm giving it 2 out of 4 stars. I don't hate this film. I don't love this film. I don't like this film, and I don't hugely dislike this film. It is simply somewhere in the middle to negative on my review, which is disappointing because I really liked Halloween 2018. I like that direction. I will say this is an improvement to Halloween Kills. I think this film is trying and better achieving than what the Halloween Kills is. But there is a lot of messy stuff, and I'm not even going to go into the politics of this film, specifically as it relates to race, society, and quote-unquote cancel culture. It gets a little dicey there, and I want to save that for the spoiler review, where I can really think out my thoughts and debate it, I think, intellectually. And thank you for watching this review. If you like this review, make sure to subscribe to the Beniverse and leave a like. I appreciate it all. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Have a happy Halloween, and bye-bye.